go back right to your grassroots days, prior to joining Millwall, who were you playing for kind of in schoolboy football, and how did you get picked up by Millwall?
Okay. Well, right from the start, I played my local team, which was a team called Guildford City. I must have been, I don't know, under fives, under sixes. I actually played a year up for the first couple of years. I'm not sure why. I think just at the time, I've got an older brother who's sort of 2.5 years older than me. So he was at Guildford City at the time. And I think it was probably my mum and dad were like, well, we're already there for him. You need to join as well. So
In the same team.
yeah. So I played there for quite a few years. I then moved to a different team in the same area, to a team called Meadow Sports. And then moved again after that to a team called Epsom Eagles. And it's sort of there where there was lots of players and that team that were all at different clubs. And that's where sort of the scouts started to come and watch. Because at the time, Epsom Eagles, we sort of won everything that there was round our way. So obviously all of the scouts were coming to watch that team. So it was there where I sort of went to Millwall. And my brother, again, he was at Millwall at the same time. In the older age groups, obviously. But so I was there. I was there for about 7 years, really, at Millwall. And to be fair, when I first went there, it was great. You know, as a young kid playing in an academy at that time was fantastic. You know, I used to just train on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening, and then after school. And obviously, I was in Guildford, so I had to travel up to a place called Sheen, which was quite a trek from Guildford straight after school. So I used to have my dinner in the car, and away I went. And then it had that for quite a number for 7 years. But last year, when you're trying to work and trying to get a YTS, it becomes a bit more difficult.
At that age, how indebted are you to your parents or grandparents, whoever drives you to the training? Because you just said it yourself, it wasn't close. So I guess for any parent, it's quite a big sacrifice to have to make 2 days a week just to make sure you get there.
I mean, yeah, as you said, like, I always, my mum and dad were instrumental in everything, really. They were, I'm sure you're probably aware, they were both England #1 table tennis players.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I was going to ask you, but you just touched on it, so I'll let you do it.
Yeah. So obviously this was way before me and my brother were born, but yeah, they were both England #1 table tennis players. So they obviously had been in sport for a long time. They never pushed us into table tennis, which you can probably understand. It wasn't quite popular at the time, but we enjoyed playing, and they set up their own business of table tennis. So it was sort of in the family. But growing up at school, especially, you say about the sacrifice. Every single night of the week, Monday I did swimming and athletics. Tuesday was football and swimming. I used to come back from football training and go straight to swimming. Wednesday was athletics and swimming. Thursday, football. Friday was swimming. Saturday we'd play in the morning, have a swimming gala in the evening, or athletics on the Saturday. Sunday was football. Sometimes it was football, athletics, and swimming all in one day. And that is just the way my life was. I absolutely loved it, but it was my mum and dad that would be driving. Don't get me wrong, there was other people in the same club that were nearby, or that they used to share lifts and that, but it was sort of their life. They travelled everywhere, taking me to all different things because it was something that I enjoyed, and they enjoyed watching me play and enjoy it. And they still, to this day, travel absolutely everywhere to go and watch the games.
That's incredible commitment. I know you just touched on athletics and swimming. Having looked up your profile and spoken to other people, did you win county championships in athletics and swimming? Am I right in saying that, or won some kind of medal?
You are correct. I was Surrey champion for 4 years in a row at breaststroke. And then I was also, county champion for for cross country, and I never used to do the sprints. I don't understand it. I can't get my head around it now.
Which
I
is
think,
really
why didn't
quick.
I do the sprint? Well, yeah, but I always used to do long distance. So when it was on the track, I used to do the 1500 and the 3000 or the 800, depends. But yeah, so I always used to do 800 or 1500, and then I used to do the cross country, and I was Surrey champion at that. So it was like I was one of them annoying kids at school.
So
They
were
used
you?
to just win everything.
I was going to say you tended to win more often than not. Were you a bad loser?
Um, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't say I was a bad loser. I was just very determined to win.
Good way of putting it. But
Yeah.
was football always your number one? I mean, when you were much younger, did you think I wanted to be a swimmer? I wanted to go into athletics? Was football your
Um,
number one?
yeah, football was always going to be number one. But the thing that I loved about the other sports is they were obviously football was a team game, and it's amazing. You can play really well, but the team lose, and it's sort of it all sort of, or you can be really bad and the team win. You know, it just sort of it's a team game. Whereas swimming and athletics, it was an individual sport, and I loved the training aspect of it. So I loved just working hard, and that sort of the actual competition was me against someone else, and it was
Mm.
individual, and that's what I geared myself up and psyched myself up. And I feel like a lot of the time whether it was a swimming race or a running race, that I used to psych other people out of the race before the race had started, and which I just really enjoyed that sort of competing. But football was always going to be my number one, and it wasn't until sort of later on when I was more of a like 14, 15 that I remember my cross country coach at the time. He just turned around to me and goes, "Yeah, you're not a cross country runner anymore. You're a footballer." Because my legs had started to change. I started to develop my calves and quads, and he was like, you've changed body shape. You're a footballer."
Your
But
footballer's
that
leg.
Yeah, but that was always going to be what I wanted to do, and that was always going to be my number one. And I just wanted to keep doing all of the other things until it got to a point that I needed to concentrate on football, and that's really where it was just before I would say probably just before I signed for Gills, to be honest.
So you were at Millwall for 6, 7 years up until the end of your apprenticeship scheme, and then
Yeah,
to
just
Gills.
when
So,
you're trying to get a YTS at the time, it's different now. But yeah, when you're trying to get a YTS, yeah, I was at Mill. Yeah.
so on leaving Millwall and joining Gills, just talk us through that transition and that move. How did you find out you weren't staying at Millwall? What exactly happened?
Yeah, so I remember it was you sort of get like there's a day that you get told whether you're getting kept on or not at Millwall, and it was after a game. I remember we all sort of went there. We went in with I went in with I think it was my dad. Went in, and then they just said, unfortunately, we're not going to offer you one. We've signed a couple of players the season before in my position, and they thought that they were better than me, so I wasn't going to get offered a contract. And for a 15-year-old, I was gutted.
Mm.
At the time, I remember on my way home after it, I got a call from the Jill scout at the time, called Bernie Dillon, and he
Mm.
was like saying, "No, I'll come straight over. We want you to come to Jill's and come straight into training." A couple of the other lads at Millwall at the time that got released went as well, and he was like, "They're coming along," and I was like, at the time, I just said no. I don't know what I'm wanting to do at the time. And I remember driving home, just being gutted and thinking, I don't know whether I want to sort of go again and go on trial. I'll just go and play with my mates on like Sunday league. But obviously, once you sort of settle down, obviously my mum and dad speak to me about lots of things, and I just sort of then was like, right, okay. And Bernie called me again about a week later, and then he was like, come on, just come down. So I ended up going to training a couple of times, played quite a few games, and I have to say I was terrible.
Oh,
I
really?
was I wasn't very good. My mentally, I was it was difficult. I was not confident at all after being released and told you're sort of not good enough. I found my confidence had taken a big hit, and was then on trial and having to prove myself. And at that time, 15, I found it a bit difficult. And luckily, I remember exactly where I was when I found out. I was at school. Obviously, you're not meant to have a phone or something on you, but I must have had one that day, because I remember I got a message off my mum and dad to say, like, to basically to call them. And I remember I called them, and they told me that that I'd been offered a scholarship at Gillingham, and it was just amazing. And the thing from that day, I think, when you have like someone sort of believe in you, I suppose that my whole mentality, my whole confidence sort of changed, and I went in and never looked back.
So I guess you can sympathise with those 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are released from football clubs and don't know what to do next. Some carry on, some fall by the wayside and don't even play professionally. It's a really cutthroat industry. So I guess it's not surprising that at 15 you'd act confidence, because it's quite a serious thing to be told at that age that you're not going to be kept on by a club.
It's ruthless, as you said. It is a real ruthless, cutthroat industry. Anyone that tells you it's not is lying. And it's extremely difficult, and sometimes it's not very nice. Don't get me wrong, the highs are the best thing in the world, but the lows are very, very low, and it's all about opinions. It's not like, it's all based on opinion. So if someone sees you one game and you don't play very well, that's stuck in their mind. And whenever you're trying to change people's minds, if they haven't seen you since, it's, oh yeah, no, he's not good enough. So it's at 15 years old to get told that, and to try and mentally get yourself round. Some people are very good and they can just brush it off and away they go. But that's, as you said, that's why a lot of people struggle and sort of fall out of the game, because at that age it's very difficult to self-motivate yourself to keep going and keep trialing and go, get knocked back again and go somewhere else and get knocked back again. It's a very ruthless industry.
Well, luckily, Gills put their belief in you, and it sounds like we're indebted to Bernie Dillon. So when you did arrive at Gills, just talk us through the youth setup, because certainly Brian Ball would have been a part of it. He's obviously still at the club. So who was your youth team manager for your scholarship?
So I had Kevin Bremner.
Yep.
Was my youth team manager. Funny enough, I stayed in digs with two other guys, one called Ashley Carew and Leon Solomon.
Yep.
And we actually stayed at digs at Ryan Bertrand's mum's house. So Ryan Bertrand, I lived with Ryan for 2.5 years.
Was he must have been?
He was in the young. Yeah, he was in the young age at Gillingham at the time. And so we stayed there. So I stayed at digs. We used to, Kevin Bremner actually used to pick us up in the morning, us three, take us to training. So we were always like first ones there, last ones to go, because that was the way the manager was all staying, doing different bits and pieces. So in a way, it sort of helped us, because we were always in early. We would then, eventually, after the first probably 2-3 months of messing around, we were then sort of going in the gym, doing bits and pieces of the balls. And then afterwards, we would hang around for ages, because Kev was doing whatever he was doing, so we had loads of spare time. So we were doing head tennis, we were doing stuff in the gym. So I suppose in that way, it helped us all become better players.
And you seem to escalate quite quickly in terms of being on the periphery of the first team. Do you remember the day or time when you got a call saying, Matt, you're on the bench tomorrow, you're in the first team?
Yeah, well, how it happened really was I'd sort of I played a little bit up front in the youth team for the first year, and it used to be I was quite quick, so the ball used to go up the top. I used to run onto it and score. So it was that was sort of how I started. But then obviously I then moved out to the wing, because I'd never played up front before. I'd always played on the wing. So and then it was my they used to, because we used to train next to the first team. So if there was ever like a spell where they needed to have an extra player or something, someone used to get called up, and it depended on position. But I got called up a couple of times and went over and trained. And then it was pre-season the following year when I was in my second year YTS. I went on tour with the first team, which was like what was I? So it's just turning 17. It's just turned 17, or a little bit younger. I don't know. So I went on tour with the first team. We went to Latuke, obviously.
Always.
Always. I scored on pre-season. I played at Folkestone. I scored. I sort of played every sort of pre-season game with the first team, and it was fantastic. I mean, we had some really good experienced players in that first team at the time, which was huge for me. And then I remember we played Sunderland. I played a few reserve team games already, but we played Sunderland at home. It was an evening game, and I remember being told I was in the squad. It was just, I remember, because I had a suit, because I didn't have a suit at the time.
Right.
So I had to get a suit and tie, and look all smart and ready to go to the game. And then I had obviously my family were there. And I remember the game. It was funny enough. I obviously played with Stuart Downing at West Ham, and I didn't realise it was his debut for Sunderland that game. That I had my debut for Gillingham, because it was he played left wing in front of Julio Arca, who played left back for Sunderland, and that was like the strongest combination at the time. They were incredible, and it was the only time that I've ever seen like Nyron have a not a bad game but struggle, because both of them were flying. And then I got the second half. I got the shout to come on, and obviously we lost the game, but it was just the experience. It was under the lights. I think it was something about night games that are pretty special, and you learn a lot, because I went into that game. I think they were probably the best team at the time, and it's really sharp. The tempo's lightning, and you're like, wow, this is a different level. So it was a good eye opener. But then once you get the taste of it, you just want to stay in and play all the time. So I sort of had that game, and then I sort of stayed in the first team. Then it was weird, because obviously I was still in the youth team, so I used to have to still do all of the jobs, wash all the boots, do all the things. And I at the time had Andy Hessenthaler and Wayne Jones. I had the manager and the assistant manager's boots I had to clean.
Ah, okay. You better doing well then.
Yeah. Didn't get as much of a Christmas tip as everybody else, but
Well, to make up for that, you got a few more opportunities in the first team, and I think your full debut was away at Preston, or home to Preston.
Away, yeah.
And we drew 0-0. So that must be nice to get that first start. And at your age, it'd only probably been 21, 22 months since your departure from Millwall. So things seem to move quite quickly for you.
Very quickly, yeah. Very quickly. I remember that game, because it's just certain things that stick in your mind. It was away at Preston. Did all the warm up, just about to start the kickoff, and they'd thrown loads of balloons on the pitch. And the referee looked over to me, and there was one near me, and he goes, "Oh, just pop that balloon." And I was thinking, "Oh no, I'm 17. So I've gone over to get the balloon. I've went to put on it, and it's blown away. And then the crowd's gone, "Way!" And I was like, "Oh no!"
Must try and find that.
Yeah, it was like what? Why does that sort of happen just before your debut to do that? But yeah, it was a great game, and I actually played well. I remember I played really well, and it was a great result for us at the time. So it was a really nice debut to be, to get a result and to play well. So I was chuffed. Yeah, I remember the Forest one, because we needed to win or draw. No, win or draw to stay up. Yeah, and then we went to the game, and we'd been playing sort of the same shape for the last few games, and that last one we went defensive, and I was on the bench, and I was gutted really. But I came on towards the end, because we changed it at half time because we were losing, and it was a bit soul destroying really. Last game of the season, then being relegated was terrible. because then obviously as well, as I said before, there was such really good experienced players in that squad, and the coach journey home was everyone was like, yeah, I'm off, I'm gone. It was like, oh, it's been such a great experience. To then everyone was like, oh, everyone was going to be leaving the club, so it was not great.
And you can only have been maybe 18, so to have experienced that, how did you take that? Did it take a while to get over, or mentally were you quite strong at that age?
No, I think for me it was all right, because I was only starting out in the game, so it was fine for me. Obviously I tasted playing in the Championship, so I was wanting to carry on playing. But obviously, the situation with the club being relegated, it was like, well, I've got a platform now that hopefully I can play week in, week out, and do really well. So that was more the way that I was looking at it, I suppose.
I think your first goal was ironically against Wolves.
It certainly was, yeah.
So I looked at earlier today, oddly enough. That's why I know.
Yeah.
It's finished as well, and I think your reaction kind of summed it up, because it seemed like you finally got that first goal. It's something everyone wants to do, just to get it off the back.
Well, it was more important because we were on a terrible run of games and we needed a win, because we really needed a win. And I remember, I think we went down to 10 men. Someone got sent off and we were down to 10 men, and I scored. And I don't know why I had this habit at Gills to once I scored, to be jumping on someone. I always jumped on someone, and it happened to be Mama Sidibe at the time.
He's got big arms.
It was
so he'll hold on to you.
He was a big old guy, yeah. So it was a great, really important. It was a massive win, winning 1-0, and to get that goal was just amazing. And yeah, as you say, funny enough, it was against Wolves, and actually Dave Jones got the sack after that game as well, which every Wolves fan tries to brings it up when they remember that goal. Yeah, he got the sack straight after that game. Yeah.
Right. So you're responsible for that then, Matt?
Yeah.
5 minutes later, Mamadi Sidibe played in Jarvis, and the teenager did the rest. This was a big moment for the little club, and an even bigger moment for young Jarvis, getting his first goal in senior football.
During your time at the Gills, there's too many games to even kind of bring up, really. Do you have a favourite game or a favourite goal? I know you scored a couple against Port Vale, like a couple against Huddersfield.
Yeah.
There's a few to go over, but if you were to pick a game and pick a goal, what would you go for?
As I say, there's a couple. I do like the Port Vale one, because I scored 2 pretty much identical goals in the same game.
Corner.
Yeah, it was just great, to score goals like that anyway. But in one game, it was brilliant. So that always sticks out in my mind. We had some funny games. I remember scoring, and we were away at Leyton Orient. We were 3-0 up. I set the first one up. I'd scored the third, I think it was. We're 3-0 up, and then we had like 15 minutes left, and then their left back scored a hat trick, and we drew 3-0.
I remember.
How does that happen? But so they were interesting games. But I think the ones you score and you win, I think like Swansea as well at home, I scored and put into the top corner. That was nice. So
is that the same game?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I said to Cox, I'd put that in if you mentioned it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Doesn't score too many, and to score 2 in the game, he's absolutely buzzing.
I thought I'll milk it for all it's worth if Jarvo brings it up.
Definitely, but yeah, they're amazing games. But I loved when you're that age, you're just free. You have there's no pressure on you. You just go out, and if you make a mistake, doesn't matter, you go again. It's that freedom to just go and express yourself. And it was just, every time I used to get the ball, obviously the fans would go up, and I used to be charging down the wings, skipping inside. It was just a really enjoyable experience. Loved it.
Whenever I was at a game where you played, whenever you got the ball, the person in front of me would always stand up, think Jarvo's got the ball, something's going to happen. Did you expect and see whenever you were kind of running towards the Rainer men, I'm expected to make something happen?
Yeah, but that's what drove me on even more. Yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do it more than I did. But once you get the ball and everyone's sort of so, and you're like, well, I'm going to keep on going. I'm not going to pass. I'm going to keep going because that's what everyone wanted, and that's what I wanted. And that's what the team wanted because at the end of the day, that was my role in the team to create chances for others and to score goals. That was what I needed to do. So the fans wanted it, wanted it, and all the other players wanted me to do it as well. So it was, it's just, as I said, that's why I play the game. That's why I love to dribble with the ball, to try and take players on, and ultimately either get a good cross or a good shot on goal.
I remember one goal, and it might have been Port Vale actually. I might be wrong, but Danny Jackman had kind of walked from our box all the way to the other half, and just when he's going to cross it, he just kind of thinks, "I'll just give it to Matt," and just
Yeah.
I always remember
Yeah.
walked pretty much the whole distance of the pitch, and rather than cross it, he just thinks, "I'll give it to Matt." You can.
Yeah. We were roomies at the time, so it was I said, Jacko, just give me the ball, keep giving it to me. So he done wonders. I remember the game actually. I remember watching it back, and he literally just jogs all the way up, and then I'm like 5 yards away, just on the side, and he just goes, okay, there you go.
Yeah,
and then I run in, cut and shot.
I can't find anyone else, Matt. So that always sticks in my mind. I don't know why. But obviously, Danny Jackman, you just mentioned it. What other players did you really kind of get on with and really had a good rapport with during your time there?
I have to say, I was very lucky that even when I first got up to the first team, I had players like Chris Hope, Barry Ashby. These are players I still speak to now. They're really good guys. Paul Smith, obviously Hess. And then you had players like, I still speak to Marlon King. He was only there for a short period, but I remember training with him and watching him doing finishing, and he was brilliant. And obviously, as I said, Mama Sidibe. And then we had players like Rod Wallace and Tommy Johnson. Players like that used to come in. They were brilliant. Yeah. And like Mark Saunders, Pato, there's Alan Powton, players like this that were just brilliant. And then you had like the younger lot that were coming through with like Spills, Leon Johnson, them sort of Perpetuini, these sort of players that were coming through, the younger players that were all older than me, but that sort of age group. So I had a really good, group of lads that were sort of some that were older, more experienced, that were helping me, and the younger lot that were all getting excited and playing as well. And then the years that would go by, obviously, as I said, Jacko, he was a really good mate of mine, or is a really good mate of mine. But and he played left back. You've always got to have a good relationship with the person who plays behind you. So always Jacko and Paul Shields. I mean, there's so many players that I played with at Gillingham that were brilliant. John Wallace, so I came through the youth team with Mark Cornell. These players that I still speak to, that you do all of your apprentice with them, and then you get into the first team together, and it's amazing.
So considering that relationship you had, not only with the other players in the squad, but the supporters, Andy Hessenthaler, you mentioned, how difficult a decision was it to take to leave the club?
It wasn't something that I was, but anything against the club or the players or anything. I just, at the time, I'd spent it was 3.5 years as a pro. So I was there for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. And as I said, the fans were amazing. I still, whenever I've been back, I get such a amazing appreciation for them, because they were brilliant to me. And that's where I started the club as a whole. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do. They sort of, that's where it all began for me. So I have a massive respect for the club. It's just at the time we were in League One. I got in team. I was in team of the year. I'd done really well. I was, playing really well week in, week out, and I had a lot of clubs that were interested in me. And I felt, for me at the time, I was 19. I felt like it was a really good opportunity. My contract was finished, and I wanted to play at a higher level, and that was the only reason. It wasn't for anything other than I wanted to play at a high level, because the club is and was amazing to me.
So off to Wolves you go, and I think within 24 months you were a Premier League player. So again, going from released by Millwall through the Gills, playing for the first team, you suddenly find yourselves a Premier League player. Did you have to kind of pinch yourself to tell yourself how far I've come in such a short space of time?
Yeah, definitely. I think I did, but at the same time, you're sort of, I know it sounds really weird, but you're on sort of like a wave, and you just carry on. You don't have time to look back and think. You just sort of go, and you. As I said, when I first went to Wolves, we finished the season 7th by 1 goal, so we missed out on the playoffs by a goal. The second season we won as champions and absolutely blitzed the league. And then I'm playing in the Premier League in front of like however many thousand fans against the best players in the world. It was just such an amazing. I think one of our first games was away at Man City, and it was just they've just signed Robinho and players like that. And I remember being in the tunnel, looking over and being like, "This is just incredible." But
I'll wake up in a minute.
Yeah, but you just sort of got to snap out of it so quick, because then otherwise you've got 2-3 games and you've picked up no points because you're thinking about everything else, and you've got to carry on. And then you just sort of try and get to grips with it, and you just try and then think about your game and how I wanted to play. And luckily enough for me, I sort of hit the ground running in the Premier League.
I watched you play at once or twice, actually. You had such a good side. I think it was Cole Henry, Jody Craddock, yourself, Sylvan Ebanks-Blake up front. I think Wayne Hennessy played in goal.
Yeah.
Good players in there. Made up a good spine of the side. And, of course, you coming off the wing and scoring left, right and centre on occasions.
It was, as I said, like when I first went to Wolves, it was a really young group of hungry players that had never played in the Premier League. They'd all sort of been Championship or below. Mick McCarthy had sort of spent no money and brought loads of really hungry players that wanted to play. And then you had a couple of players like Jody Craddock, who was what a professional and what a guy. And he sort of helped the younger lads as well. And as I said, we all gelled together. We were all striving for the same thing, and we all wanted to play at a high level. And that's ultimately why and how we did it.
What are your overriding memories from your time at Wolves?
Absolutely loved it. It was so enjoyable. When you win things, it's enjoyable, isn't it? So I have that amazing, again, like because of Gillingham and my success and the progress I made, and the fans were just incredible. I did it again at Wolves, and I had a really, really good relationship with the supporters, and I spent a good 5 and a bit years as well there. And we won things, and then I played in the Premier League with them for 3 years, and I played for England at the time. So it's just such an amazing experience, and I love the club, and I still do bits and pieces there from time to time, and it's really fond memories.
Let's talk about the England cap, because not many people get the chance to play for England. Very few represent the country. Ghana, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, second half. I was there actually. I'm sure a few other Gills fans were. Just describe what that feeling is like when the gaffer says, "Right, Matt, you ready?"
Yeah.
Well, you're wearing the England shirt, 60, 70,000 people.
Incredible. I mean, you don't understand how many Gills fans have messaged me to say I was there when you did it. It was amazing. And I'm so lucky that, in the sense that my game that I played for England was at Wembley in front of 85,000 fans. It could have been anywhere in the world, but I was at Wembley, and all of my family, all of my friends, I mean, millions and millions. Like, there's just incredible Gills fans, Wolves fans, or everyone was just saying that they were there. So incredible to be able to do it then. And I was just say, I remember it was the second half, and I'd been warming up. I'd been up and down that touchline all second half because I
Jumping
was
in front
just
of the
wanting.
gaffer.
Yeah, I was like trying to be like, ready. And I just remember getting that, like looking up, and then someone coming down and going like that, and getting that call and being like, and it just like sort of sprinting back to the dugout, and then that was it. Everything off, ready to go on. And I remember sort of standing there next to the touchline, thinking, like, this is it. Like, just don't look nervous. Sort of keep a straight face, because you know everyone's going to be homing in on it. And Jack Wilshere come off, and I come on, and I remember just running onto the pitch, just going, no one ever can take this away from me. I've done it. I've played for England. And then obviously, as soon as the ball then comes in, you're switched on to, you're just playing. Nothing else comes into your mind. Then you're just playing football. But at that time, I remember just running on, going, yeah, I've done it. I've played for my country, and no one else can take that away from me.
This might be a stupid question. In fact, I know I've asked you before, but the proudest moment of your career?
Yeah, definitely. I think as any kid, that's what the ultimate dream, isn't it? To play for your country. I just don't. As I said, I know I keep saying, but I don't think it could have happened any better, because being at Wembley, 85,000 fans, the Ghana fans were incredible as well, made so much noise. All of my friends and family were there. So, I couldn't have wished it to have gone any better. It's just, proudest moment for sure.
I think within 6 months of that game, possibly 18 months, you leave Wolves to go on to West Ham United. I think you began the season at Wolves, and then West Ham came in for you just before.
That's right.
But again, what a fantastic club to go and play for. Yeah,
I don't think I sort of truly understood until I signed how big a club West Ham was, because being just, in London, ultimately, there's so many fans. It's such a big club. So it was, incredible to go and play there. And as you said, I played all like first sort of 3 games at Wolves in the Championship. So to then go straight, it was sort of like a last minute thing to go. And I think, and I was club record signing at the time, so it was huge pressure on me, really.
When a player does get signed for money such as the amount that was paid for you, do you feel the pressure, or do you just think, well, it's a fee? Ultimately, clubs have got to pay other clubs for players, and I just happen to be one of them.
You start with that's the attitude, but it is a lot of pressure. I have to say, as I said, just because of the size of the club, I think, as well. So it was a lot of pressure, but it was something that I enjoyed, and I had a great first season. If you're looking at statistic wise, that season and the season before, my last season at Wolves, I put in the most crosses in Europe and the most successful crosses in Europe. So as a wide man, that is a successful season.
Did it right.
So, and then luckily the following year, Andy Carroll signed for my. He broke the transfer record, so the pressure was off me.
Oh, good. Well, let's get hold of Andy Carroll, and so thanks very much. What are your? I asked you same for Wolves, but what were your kind of outstanding memories during your time at West Ham? Any goals or games you can?
Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with the quarter final of the cup away at White Hart Lane and scoring. I was just about to say the winner. I think it was the equaliser in the cup to win, to get through to the semi-final as a West Ham player against Spurs. At Spurs, scoring and winning is incredible, and obviously the fans were just going crazy. So it was that's probably a standout moment.
Adrian with a long free kick. Flick on by Maiga. Taylor on the turn. Finds Jarvis, who finds the net. And it's 1 each. 10 minutes to go. Tottenham 1, West Ham 1. Matt Jarvis smashes West Ham level. Well, they've created more chances in the last 10 minutes than the rest of the game. And here it comes again, same route, long ball downfield, Flick on by Maiga, helped on by Taylor. Terrific finish by Jarvis.
So after West Ham, it was on to Norwich City. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Started off at Norwich, and then I think it was towards the end of your first or second season, maybe even longer than that, you had your injury. Just talk us through the early days at Norwich, getting the injury, and how early on into your rehab did you really feel it was going to be a serious injury?
Okay, when I first went to Wolves, it was probably the best shape I've ever been in physically. I scored in my debut, scored in my second game. We were playing really well as a team. Unfortunately, I decided to go into a block tackle with Yaya Toure, and was not a good idea. I tore my medial ligament, deep fibre MCL, and got myself back fit in the correct time. Played for the rest of the season, but my knee was never right. So in pre-season, I come back and I'd had injections all through the summer, and it wasn't right. And unfortunately, I then all the scans showed it was fine, but I then went under the knife, and they found out that my medial wasn't attached properly anyway. So I had to have the surgery. Got back in the correct time again, and my first training session, I cut inside and shot, and someone smashed my ankle. And yeah, I just struggled with that all for the rest of that season, because I didn't want to have the scans showed nothing, but I was like, just come back from an injury, and it didn't get any better. And again, I had to go under the knife, and nothing picked up on the scan. And then I had to have a microfracture of my ankle, and I was out for, they were thinking it was going to be about 4 to 6 weeks, and it turned into 8 months. And that was extremely difficult. And then I picked up IT band friction syndrome coming back from that. Had to have a clean up on that. And it was just, demoralising, really. Working so hard to get yourself back fit and get yourself in great condition to get back into training, and then something else go wrong, and then doing it all, and something else go wrong, and doing it all, and something else go wrong. It was a very difficult time, and being away from home as well. So it was all, hard.
Yeah. Earlier on, you mentioned the highs and lows of football. I'd probably suggest you've experienced the extreme high, playing for England, and the extreme low of being out, I think it was nearly 2 years without kicking a ball in a professional game. So you experienced everything from good to bad to the middle. You've gone through it. I would suggest that a footballer could go through.
Yeah, I'd agree totally. I think as a football player, everyone thinks you're always going to be like here. It's like that. You can win one game, lose one game, and you can be there and there. You've got to try and stay at a level thing, but it's very difficult. And for me, it just, you go through the highs, and when the lows are low, it's difficult. That's why, I'm very fortunate. I've got I've got a brilliant wife and great family and at the time, great teammates, and that, you pull yourself through. Because, I was lucky. I say lucky at the time at Norwich when I was going through that. I had another player that was doing the same sort of. He had a long injury, and so we used to sort of try and keep each other going while we're in the gym. If he was having a tough day, I'd pull him through. If I was having a tough day, he'd be doing the same for me. So it's just about grinding through it and knowing, or trying to get through to the end where we're able to get back fit.
Were there moments in your rehab when you half thought, forget it, I'm just going to finish, I don't want to do it anymore?
No. There was moments in my rehab that I got told to knock it on the head by specialists. I got told, that, there's nothing more we can do. And there was days that I was struggling. In fact, like I was just in constant pain for a while, months really, more than months, probably years. And that is very difficult to deal with, especially at the time. My wife just had our first, my son, and being away from him as well, like them being back down south and me up in Norwich, being away and just being sort of trying to get myself fit, but being in pain every day. It was, that's this most difficult part of my whole life, let alone football. So it was hard to get through it, but never once in my mind had I said that I'm going to give up. I was always going to get myself through it, and luckily I carried on, and I did, because there's no way I was going to let someone else, I suppose, maybe being a bit stubborn, letting someone else decide when I would decide to stop playing.
Have any other injured players called you or said, Matt, I'm really struggling, I'm not going to play for a year? What advice can you give me?
Yeah, definitely. I think unfortunately, because of these things happened at Norwich, I then become a bit more of a mentor in the changing room. There was a lot of young players. I was helping them with lots of different things. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely spoke to other people that have been in situations that they've had big injuries, and I try to help them through and guide them as much as I possibly can, because no one understands that side of the game. Fans, they're like, oh, he's injured again. What's he doing? No, he's never fit. What's he doing? He's been out for 6 weeks. What's he doing? Well, the injured players do the most. They're in early, they leave late. They're doing everything possible to get themselves fit. It's much, much harder being injured than being fit. I can tell you that for sure. So no player wants to be injured. So it's a very difficult period in anyone's time. So I try my best to help anyone out, whether it's someone that's not at the club. I've spoken to loads of players that I've played with in the past that are going through tough spells with injury, that I can help them through.
You did come back. I think you played a trophy game for Norwich, and then must have been 18 months ago you went on loan to Walsall. Played a few games there, and of course came back to Priestfield and played rather well.
Well, it's the first time I'd actually been back to Priestfield, so it was emotional, because I wanted to do well, but obviously, don't want to, but it went my way. I did really well, and I got an amazing reception, and it was just really nice to go back and say thank you to everyone, and also at the time, Steve Lovell was the manager with Mark Patterson, and they were at the club when I was there, and Ian Cox as well. So it was nice to go in and see them, and the kit men were the same. I went and see Gwen as well. It's like going back home.
Yeah, you played rather well, and I think we lost 3-0 if my memory. We won't go into that.
That is correct.
Yeah. We'll leave that. So of course, since then I think you've gone on to play for Woking, scored on your debut. I won't ask you about the future. It's probably not appropriate at this moment. But in terms of playing, you're not finished, are you? No
chance. No. I've literally just turned 34, but I feel myself like, because I missed so much football, I've still got that to go the other end. So I'm not stopping now.
Good. That's good to hear. Just finally, talking about your former clubs, some are in Premier League action. West Ham, I'm sure you'll be hoping that they stay up, and Wolves, they will challenge in the European competition.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously hope that West Ham stay up. Unfortunately, I think Norwich, I would love for them to stay up. I just think it might be a bit too much at the moment. And Wolves, if they can get Champions League football, that would be absolutely amazing, because the club's definitely heading in the right direction. Just finally, you did come back in January actually for the West Ham game, didn't you? And you got I certainly did. Yeah, fantastic reception, which was great. Amazing. It was really nice to come back and actually have a proper. Don't get me wrong, when we played, it was great, and I got taken off, and I had a really nice round of applause. But to actually go to a game that I'm not playing in and go around and clap all of the fans, it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So thank you for organising that and getting me on the pitch. So that was great. No worries, a pleasure, and hopefully, Matt, we have to do it at a time when you're not playing, because I'm sure you'll be back on the pitch sooner rather than later. But hopefully, we can get you back out in front of the fans. That'd be brilliant. We'll try and make that happen. But for now, Matt, thanks very much for your time. Pleasure. Hope you and your family stay safe, and we'll keep tabs on your next move. Brilliant. You too. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, Matt. Cheers. Thanks for your time, pal.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.